this event. We are here at City Center. Ooh, that sounds important, doesn't it? I mean, cities, everything is right here. It's all in walking distance. You can live here in downtown Woodstock, right? How many people live here in downtown Woodstock? You can walk to where you go to the restaurant. You can walk to shop. Some of you can walk to work. You can walk to the park and get your recreating done. You can walk to the finest community theater in the Atlanta metro area, Elm Street. I met a new lady tonight who's brand new to town, just moved here from California. Her name is Claudia. Give it up for Claudia. She's living right over here. It's a cool place. Everything is so close. I don't live in Woodstock. As Jessica said, I live in Marietta.
Yeah!
Thank you, Jessica. Marietta's a cool place, too. Because in Marietta, we have a big... But I digress. Woodstock's a great... You know, if you live in Woodstock, you don't even hardly need a car, because now there's Uber. Got any Uber riders out there? A little more and that would qualify for a smattering of people. 2 months ago, I became an Uber driver. And I thought that I would, as a public service to you tonight, see, this isn't just about comedy, this is about improving the body public here. So I thought I would give you the 3 easy steps to becoming an Uber driver. Step number 1, go online, fill out the application, and become accepted to drive for Uber. Step number 2, you download the handy app that enables you to connect via your cell phone with those who would like to get a ride. And step number 3, prepare to clean up the vomit of a complete stranger. At least that's how it worked for me. I have been driving for Uber 3 nights. I had just bought a gently used, pristine, inside and out little Mazda 3 that was going to be my car to transport the Uber riders around. I was all set. And then I got a call from Scott. Scott will forever go down in my personal Uber hall of shame. I drove to the swanky Midtown hotel where Scott and his fiancée had eaten dinner. As I pulled up, I couldn't help but notice that Scott's fiancée was, shall we say, a little tipsy. Well, let me amplify that a little bit. When I say she was a little tipsy, what I mean by that is a little in the same way that the Titanic is a little boat. She was snockered, shellacked, she was embalmed, she was 3 sheets to the wind, many martinis for this young lady, let me tell you. When I pulled up her body position, well, I think the best description of it would be a starving chiropractor's dream, okay? Her feet were touching the ground, but that's not to say she was actually standing. Really, the reason her feet were touching the ground had to do with the confluence of the basic laws of gravity and the fact that her feet were attached to her legs, which were dangling from her torso, because she certainly wasn't standing up. The insightful folks at the restaurant had considered the possibility that she might have an accident, and so they'd given her what we commonly call a barf bag, which would have been entirely adequate had her dinner consisted of maybe, 3 peas and a broccoli stalk. Would have done the job. Her fiancé, Scott, wedged her into the back seat of my car as best he could. And as she made her way into the car, I I really couldn't understand anything she was saying. She was speaking in half syllables. It was 5 minutes before I understood a single word she said. We had gotten onto the interstate to go to Sandy Springs before I clearly understood the first thing out of her mouth, and that was... Soup's on! I mean, all over the place. And of course, you know, it was only a matter of moments before that smell began to waft its way from the back seat up into the driver's area where I was trying to drive the car. You know, there's really no smell quite like that rancid, sweet smell of fresh upchuck, and that's what I was getting. But there was one silver lining in this entire affair. The good news is that prior to driving for Uber that night, I had had dinner, and it was a nice burrito. So I was able to go to work immediately, improving the air quality in the cabin of the car. As quickly as we could, we exited the interstate, and it was time to begin the cleanup operations to try to get something going there. And so got out of the car and opened the back door. The Lilliputian barf receptacle had not been adequate to the task. She had indeed had more than 3 peas and a stalk of broccoli for dinner that evening. In fact, what I found when I opened the back door was that this dear young, petite, sweet lady had thrown up all over herself and her nice clutch she was carrying for the evening all over my back seat, all over the floorboard. There was some on the door. It was even down in the seatbelt buckle, and for goodness sakes, I think there was even some on the ceiling. Puke River. I mean, I had this vision of Moses being there. And if he had lifted up his staff, it was so much in the floorboard, he could have parted the floating chunk. You know, I never would have guessed a little lady that small could actually eat that much. I mean, judging simply by the sheer volume of the regurgitated particulate, she'd had for dinner, I don't know, a small to medium-sized antelope. And gone back for seconds. Washed it down with maybe a 2-liter of Captain Morgan. Not a pretty sight. Scott, her fiance, began to apologize profusely. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. This has never happened before. I don't know what to say.